Hello, everybody. We are actually Motzei Shabbos, coming out of Parshas Pekudei, which is the last parsha of Sefer Shemos. I figured better late than ever, but also Shabbos has an effect on the week ahead of it as well. So we always think of the parsha of the week as being the parsha that we're leading up to, the Shabbos that we're leading up to. But in fact, every week is influenced by two parshios. It's the parsha of the week that we're leading up to, right? What we say is, oh, this is the parsha of the week, of the upcoming Shabbos, but it is also influenced by the Shabbos preceding it that has an influence and an effect on the following week. So here we are, Motzei Shabbos, and we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn a very, very powerful message from the very end of the last parsha of Sefer Shemos. I also want to say my gratitude for having a upgrade in the camera and the video quality. My husband got me a camera for my birthday, and I'm just really excited to have a better quality video. So, all right, with that, let us begin. So what did we do? As we said, we finished Sefer Shemos. Sefer Shemos is called the Sefer HaGeula, the Geula Sefer, the Sefer of redemption. Now, in the very beginning of Sefer Shemos, you may remember, is all about slavery, right? But the entire Sefer, the purpose of the Sefer from beginning to end, is not about the slavery of the Jewish people in Mitzrayim. It's not about their exile, their galus in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. It is about the Yetzias Mitzrayim, the leaving of Egypt, the leaving of exile, and the entire story from the beginning of Sefer Shemos to the very end is the process of leaving Galus and entering Geula, entering a state of redemption. So interestingly, how does this end in accordance with that theme? How does this parsha end? How does not just this parsha, but this sefer end? It ends by the Mishkan, because you're going to say, oh, the last few parshios, what does that have to do with Galus or Geula? What does it have to do with exile or redemption? That the last many parshios of Sefer Shemos has to do with the Mishkan, the building of the Mishkan, Hashem's instructions on the building of the Mishkan, as well as the kalim, the vessels, and the Bigdei Kahuna, the clothing of the Kohen and the Kohen Gadol, and then the actual construction of it, the making of it. And we conclude this parsha and the entire Sefer with the setting up of the Mishkan. The Mishkan is set up by Moshe. And how do we know that they did it? How do we know that they got it? The Mishkan is officially Mishkan worthy. For what? For the purpose of Hashem to reside in. The purpose of a Mishkan and also the Mikdash. The Mishkan is the temporary Mikdash in the desert. I think we call it the tabernacle in English. And it is really, it is that temporary place of a Mikdash that Hashem wanted to have ultimately in Eretz Yisrael, right, with the base HaMikdash. And then we have the second base HaMikdash, and we're still awaiting the third base HaMikdash. But this Mishkan is the Mishkan in the Midbar, in the desert, is a Mikdash, right? So what's the purpose of the Mikdash? The purpose is for Hashem to reside in, to have a home in, right? For his presence to be revealed. So how do we know that it worked, that they did it correctly, and it can serve as a Mishkan? Well, at the very end of this parsha, we have Hashem's Shechina come down onto the Mishkan, signifying that this is the Mishkan that we've wanted, that Hashem instructed for, and his presence, Hashem's Shechina, his divine presence, comes down onto the Mishkan, showing, yes, okay, this is Hashem is being revealed in this place. So what does this have to do with the Sefer of Shemos being Geula, about redemption, because what we understand that of what Geula is, it is not just the fact that they left Egypt. Because if it was about, well, they're not in a state of exile anymore, then, well, first of all, what is exile and what is redemption? So, Galus, the state of exile, is that of Hashem not being revealed. So therefore, right, when we are in Galus, we don't see Hashem's presence, right? We don't have the Beis HaMikdash, for example. And as we said, the Beis HaMikdash is the prime way that Hashem resides in this world. And so when we don't experience that, we don't see that. And we don't see the many miracles that were right in front of their eyes with the Beis HaMikdash. And the entire world as a whole is in a state of concealment, that we don't see God revealed in this world, right? You look around, it's hard to reconcile the world that we see with the God that we know. So that's why, evidently, right, there are so many people that don't believe in God. And so therefore, the end of this Sefer, which is all about Geula, coming to a place of Hashem's presence being revealed, that is going to culminate with Hashem's presence being revealed in the world, in the Mishkan. Okay, so it wasn't enough that Hashem took the Jewish people out of Egypt. That was just like step one. But for them to build the Mishkan, a place where Hashem's presence can reside, now we have Geula. And ultimately, that was just a taste of it, because the ultimate is really in Eretz Yisrael with the Beis HaMikdash. And the ultimate is, of course, when Mashiach comes, the ultimate Geula. So that's just a little taste of how Sefer Shemos, why it ends this way, right? It's a story. It's a story of them leaving Galus and coming to Geula. Geula being a place where Hashem is revealed. And that's why it ends with Hashem's Shechina residing in the Mishkan. However, in these last few psukim, in which we're told that this anan, this cloud, this cloud of Hashem's Shechina, comes onto the Ohel Moed, onto the Mishkan, Uchvod Hashem, and the kavod of Hashem, Hashem's glory, malei et Mishkan, fills the Mishkan, right? So the anan comes onto the Ohel Moed, and the kavod Hashem, Hashem's glory, fills the entire Mishkan. And it's interesting. I'm going to state something, and then we'll come back to it later. But it says that Moshe was unable to go into the Ohel Moed. This is Pasuk 35 at the very end of this week's parsha. He wasn't able to go into the Ohel Moed because Hashem's Shechina, the cloud of Hashem's glory, was filling the Mishkan. Okay, so he wasn't able to go in. I want to circle back to that later. And then we have a very interesting pasuk. Uvehei alos, I actually want to show it to you. I haven't done a screen share in a while, but I want to do that. So here we go. I want you to see this pasuk. I was just reading Lamed Daled, how Vayechas ha'anan es ohel moed v'vod Hashem malei es Mishkan, and then I read Lamed Hey v'lo yachol Moshe levo al ohel moed. He wasn't able to go to the Ohel Moed because the Shechina was filling the Mishkan, and then Lamed Vav. Okay, Lamed Vav. Uvehei alos, I don't know if you see this. Uvehei alos ha'anan me'al ha'Mishkan yisu b'nei Yisrael b'chol masehem. Uvehei alos means it went up, la'alot, right? Like making an aliyah, right? When you move to Eretz Yisrael, you're making an aliyah in life. You're going up in life. So it arose, it went up. The anan, this cloud, this Hashem's Shechina went up. Me'al HaMishkan, from above the Mishkan, it went up. It left the Mishkan. And what was that? That was a symbol. That was the sign that Yis'u b'nei Yisrael, that the Jewish people should journey, b'chol masehem, in their journeys. So we're going to have in the rest of the Torah, this is just Sefer Shemos, right? But in the rest of the Torah, we're going to have a lot of Bnei Yisrael's journeys, right? Their travels through the desert. And how would they know when it's time to travel. They knew when it would be time that it would be time to pack up the Mishkan and go somewhere else, when Hashem's Shechina from above the Mishkan would rise up, would go up, and would depart from the Mishkan. And that was their sign to know, time to pack up and travel. So we have two questions on this pasuk. I'm gonna stop the screen share, but really think about this pasuk for a moment. That when Hashem's Shechina goes up, departs from the Mishkan, that's when the Jewish people would know to travel. So two things. First of all, what does this instruction really, or this information that this pasuk is giving us, how does it belong here? Here, like we said, the Mishkan was just erected, and it's Hashem's Shechina came down, and the last pasuk I didn't show you is really back to that Anan Hashem al HaMishkan. The cloud of Hashem is on the Mishkan, right? And during the day, and the fire at night for le'enei kol beis Yisrael, for all of the Jewish people to see before their eyes, b'chol ma'aseihem, wherever they stop. So really the emphasis here is that Hashem's Shechina is residing on the Mishkan. Why do we need this pasuk giving us this information here about the Anan departing? And that's how they would know to travel. Because really, the travelings is not here. It's in Bamidbar, Sefer Bamidbar, is where we're going to have all their travels, and the Anan's going to go up, they're going to go, and like we could have seen that then. What does it have to do with the Mishkan's, the Mishkan becoming a place for Hashem Shechina to reside? So A, what does it have to do with that? And two, if you think about it for a minute, how is it that the traveling, the journeying of the Jewish people, which is all about getting closer to Eretz Yisrael, meaning closer, right, to the ultimate goal, like we said, the Mishkan, okay, Hashem's Shechina can reside in the desert with the Jewish people, but that's not the ultimate, right? The ultimate is that they get to Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem's Shechina can reside, Hashem's divine presence can reside in not only the Beis HaMikdash, but the land itself, turning the land into a holy land, and as we'll speak about further, really symbolizing the whole world turning into a holy place, and the physical world itself being elevated to a place where Hashem can reside. So the traveling was not anymore running away, right? We're not running away from Egypt anymore. We left Egypt by the sea. We already left where we needed to leave. Journeying, traveling here is about going towards something. It's positive movement. It's the journey of life itself. It's the journey towards being close with Hashem and getting closer to the goal. And that really like beautiful, holy journeying, what does that have to do with Histalkus HaShechina, the removal, the departure of the Shechina? So it's specifically, what that pasuk was saying is that specifically, Behe Alot Ha'anan, specifically when the Shechina goes up and departs from the Mishkan, from the Jewish people, that's when the Jewish people should travel. That's when they should have the koach, the strength to continue on their journey towards their goals. How does that make sense? So as we'll learn, it's dafka that. It is dafka that, as we'll see, because we have to take a step back and understand for a minute, well, what is the purpose of creation at all? Have you ever thought about that, by the way? I remember when I was in high school, there was a student who went around and did a poll of like common Jewish people, the regular, from even religious Jew. So why did God create the world? And she was so shocked to realize that here we are, religious Jews, keep Torah and mitzvos, and it's like a question. I don't know. Why did God create the world? Like, why am I here? What is the purpose of it all? So the Chassidus does speak about this a lot, and it reveals to us that there's a midrash, sorry, that spells it out actually in two separate places, a Medrash Tanchuma in Nassau and in another place, Bamidbar Rabbah. And it spells it out exactly why God created the world, and ultimately meaning the same idea as what our purpose is, right? So the purpose of everything is of the Mishkan in particular, but really that's a symbol for the purpose of the creation as a whole, is that the Jewish people, well, I'm going to get to what the Midrash says in a moment. I'm sorry, I went ahead a little bit for a second. But as we will see, the very purpose of the Mishkan and the Jewish people as a whole is dafka, that we should travel, specifically behealos ha'anan, specifically when the clouds depart, when the Shechina departs. Because why? Well, it's not such a great thing. It's not so great. It's not so awesome. It's not so like, wow, incredible for us to keep God's will when the Shechina is there, when the Shechina is revealed in front of us, when it's obvious, when we see God with our own eyes, right? It's pretty easy to serve Hashem when he is that obvious to you, right? Like in a moment out of inspiration, or when we're like really very clear thinking, or maybe we've had like a time in our life, a certain stage in life where we were very clear about Hashem and Torah and mitzvos and Judaism, and it was very obvious to us for whatever reason. Maybe something happened and we had this like moment of inspiration, right? And of course, the problem with inspiration is that it's fleeting and it doesn't always last because it's not integrated. But in those moments, like, obviously I want to do the right thing. Like, it's obvious to me, it's clear. So of course, how much more so, right? When literally they see Hashem's Shechina residing in front of them, like it's the same idea. I think we mentioned it in a different shir, that by Matan Torah, they were, the Gemara speaks about how they were kind of forced to accept Torah and mitzvos. Why? Because it was just so obvious. They literally saw Hashem revealed to them before their eyes. It was as obvious to them as physical reality in front of them. We spoke about this in a different shir, I think by Parshas Yisrael. So was it they were forced? It was just obvious. So there wasn't a choice. That's what it means that they were forced. It wasn't a choice. It was just so obvious. Actually, we'll tie this into Purim, since next week is Purim. That is when they truly accepted the Torah out of their own choice, their own will, without this element of force in that they had by Matan Torah. Why? Because it wasn't so obvious. They were in Galus. Hashem was not revealed. As we know, the whole Purim story, we don't have Hashem's name once in the entire Megillah, because the whole Hashem's the miracle was all done in such a hidden way that Hashem hid the miracle behind nature, behind things that seem to happen one after the other. And also they were a time of persecution. They were a time of like being persecuted for being Jewish. So if they chose their Jewishness, they chose their Judaism, then in a state of galus, in a state of exile, which we defined a few minutes ago as a time when God is not revealed, when it's not obvious, when it's hard, when there's difficulties, when there's persecution, when there's anti-Semitism, and for them to choose Torah and mitzvos, then that is true acceptance. So there's a mila, there's an advantage of this choosing of Torah and mitzvos that the Jewish people had by the time of Purim, time of the Megillah story, over that of Matan Torah. And that really does tie into what we're going to share here. Because the purpose is for us to come to an appreciation of serving Hashem and Torah and mitzvos Not when it's obvious, not when he's revealed, not when we have the Beis HaMikdash in front of our eyes, but dafka when it's hidden. Dafka when Hashem is hidden. Specifically, when the Anan departs. Dafka when it appears that Hashem has departed from us. God forbid, kiviyachal, like Hashem, we know doesn't depart from us, and he never departs from the world. He couldn't, or the world wouldn't exist. However, from our perspective, in our eyes, it appears that like, where's God here? And that is the purpose. The purpose is for us to find Hashem, to choose Hashem then in the darkness, in the when Hashem is hidden, in the challenge. So back to the Midrash, what was I saying? That the Midrash, there's a Midrash that tells us, why did Hashem create the world? Well, Nisaiva HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he had a taiva, he had a desire, an inner, and don't think that God's desire is anything like our desires, or our animalistic desires at all, as in particular. But this is God, okay? So he had this innermost desire, innermost drive and passion and excitement and will for what? Lihios lo dira bisachtonim, to have for himself a dira, like a home, right? Bitachtonim doesn't mean underwear. I know all our Hebrew speakers are gonna be like, what's going on here? But tachton means low, right? So the lowest world, in the lowest place. So again, Nesaiva HaKadosh Baruch Hu lihiyos lo dir b'sachtonim. Hashem wanted, why did he create the world? What's the purpose of the world? For Hashem, that he wanted that there should be a home for him in the lowest world. Now, hold on. God is above time and space, right? So what does it mean lower, higher? There's no lower or higher to Hashem. Hashem, like we said, is as much here as he is in any other world. However, that is the truth of the situation, right? But Hashem created this lowest world, the physical world, in a way that he's hidden. He made it in a way where he conceals his presence. So as much as he's here, he doesn't allow us to see that. He hides that from us so that we should feel like he's not here. It should appear to be like he's not here. And which of course makes this world a very mundane physical place that is, like we said, hard to see, hard to experience any form of experience Hashem, right? It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to kind of look past the mundanity of the world and the coarseness of the world, the physicality of the world, the gashmias everywhere, right? And to look past all of that, to look past society, look past just like also like our day-to-day needs and lives and just keeping up with the Jonesons, you know, or should I say the Cohens, but and to look past all that and see the truth of what it is as a place where first God is, and that ultimately what he wants is that we should experience him here and live with him here, so and make him comfortable here, make this a place that he's comfortable to be in, and that would be a home, right? Dira, a place to live in, a dwelling place. Where's a place that you live? A place that you live is somewhere that you feel comfortable, that it also, like, my home expresses me, right? From the things on the wall to the furniture to, right, like just the vibes, the energy, right? My home is an expression of me. So if the world turns into an expression of Hashem, a place where Hashem's presence, again, is revealed, is expressed, that is what Hashem wants. But obviously, that's not going to work for him to do that, right? That's what he did by when the world was first created, Gan Eden. And then, but the purpose was not for it to stay like that. The purpose was that Adam and Chava should be the Ched Eitzadah, and we should be thrown into this state of concealment. That was the ultimate purpose, because, and like we said, what we're basically saying here is that the ultimate purpose of the world can be found in Gullus in particular. Why? Because when we're in Gullus, when Hashem is not revealed, we have the opportunity to reveal him. And that is the purpose of the world. That in the lowest place, in the darkest place, in the place where he is the most not revealed, the most concealed, where it's hardest to find Hashem, when it's hardest to believe in Hashem, when it's hardest to connect with him, that we should find Hashem there, in the darkest of places. Because that's the lowest, right? So even in this world, there's spirituality on the mountaintop, fine. But that's not the lowest. The lowest is like real life, right? Real hardships, real challenges, real darkness. October 7th. I mean, this is as low as it gets, as concealed as it gets. Right? As we know, like October 7th made us all feel like, where is Hashem? Hashem, I don't understand. We believe that you're a good God, and yet how could that happen? How could this happen? Right? So that is darkness. That is concealment. And what we're saying is that is dafka, the purpose of the world, for us to find Hashem, choose Hashem, and connect to who we are and what the purpose of the world is, specifically, especially when it's dark, when there's concealment, when it's galus, when we're challenged. So, in light of this, we can understand the pasuk that we brought before. It is specifically when the Anan Hashem departs that we can fulfill the truest purpose. When the Anan Hashem, when the Shechina is found below and everyone can see Hashem revealed, one can see his divine presence as light as day, right? So when it's as obvious as day, this world cannot be considered tachton. It can't be considered lowest. When we are literally experience divine presence in front of our eyes, that's not as low as it gets. But in order to fulfill the entire purpose of creation, it specifically has to be when the Anan departs, when the Shechina departs, when it goes up, when the light is not shining, when Hashem's presence is not revealed. And not only that, that is when, and specifically that when Hashem's Shechina departs, that is when we could journey. That is the sign for the Jewish people to journey. That is when we can journey towards our ultimate purpose, the purpose of creation, the purpose of the ultimate purpose of realizing Hashem's will, which is to create a world that Hashem is revealed. When do we do that? When can we journey on that journey? When do we fulfill our spiritual purpose? Specifically when the clouds depart, when Hashem is concealed. And not only that, but the purpose of the Mishkan, right? We said, what does this pasuk have to do with the Mishkan? And the setting up of the Mishkan and Hashem's Shechina in the Mishkan. Because what it's kind of reminding us is, when the purpose of the Mishkan is to reveal Hashem in the world, right? Via the Mishkan, or the Mikdash, eventually. Yeah, that's the purpose. And so great, Hashem's Shechina is residing in the Mishkan. However, that's not the ultimate. What it's reminding us is that the ultimate is when we are able to turn the physical, lowly world, our mundane life, into a Mishkan. As we know, Asuli Mikdash v'Shechanti Besocham. When Hashem told us his desire for a Mikdash, he said, V'Shechanti Besocham, Besoch kol echad ve'echad miYisrael. In every individual, it's plural. He wanted to reside in each and every one of us. So the ultimate Mishkan is in each of us, right? And when specifically in the concealment, in the darkness, So yeah, it's very nice and dandy when Hashem's Shechina is revealed in the Mishkan. But this pasuk is reminding us that the truest purpose, the truest fulfillment of our purpose happens actually when the Shechina is not on the Mishkan, when the Shechina departs, when it goes up, when there's concealment, when there's challenge. That's when our journey towards our purpose can truly begin. So I want to bring it down in these last 10 minutes to really the very ever relevant lesson in our lives. And you may have figured it out just from what we've discussed already. But specifically, when we are in darkness, the darkness of Galus, when we're in the darkness of Hashem not being revealed, when the darkness of of I mean, just the darkness we've experienced this year, when the darkness of like such a low level of spirituality in the world today, um, that is exactly when, that is specifically, especially the time that we are meant to busy ourselves even more so and with more enthusiasm in and commit ourselves even more so to Torah and mitzvos and into a life of closeness with Hashem, because remember, that was the purpose. The purpose is specifically when it's spiritually dark. And we are absolutely, it says, asur lanu. We are absolutely forbidden to recoil, to flinch from the darkness of exile. We so often think like, oh, it's so dark. Like, come on, Hashem, if you made it a little bit more obvious, a little bit more clear that you were here with us, if you made it a little bit more like, if you were a little bit more revealed in my life, a little bit more obvious in the world, then okay, fine. I obviously, like, I would serve you, no problem, okay? But you made it really dark, so what can I do? No, you missed the point. We all miss the point. The point is specifically when we're feeling that way, especially when we're feeling that darkness, especially when Hashem is hidden from us in our individual lives and in the world at large. That is the ultimate purpose. That if we reach out and choose, make that choice, that true ultimate bechira chavshit, like the people of the time of Purim, right? In that state of Galus, when we take that opportunity to reach out and to choose faith in that time, to choose connection, to choose a mitzvah, to choose Hashem in that time, that's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose. And more so, to bring it even more to our just like our journey, right? Like what do we say? Like, right, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And that's very much why we have so many journeys of the Jewish people in the Midbar, so that we remember that life is the journey, right? When does the journey take place? When does our own spiritual journey, our own our own purpose, there's the purpose of the world that we've been talking about, but then there's how each of us fit into that, our own individual mission and purpose in the world. How can we access that purpose? When do we access that purpose? Specifically when we feel that departure of the Shechina in our life, specifically when we're feeling the darkness, specifically when we're in concealment, right? We don't grow very much. It's just like human nature. We don't grow very much when things are nice and dandy. When we're hit hard, when we're challenged, when we're feeling sad and challenged, and when we're feeling darkness, that's where our growth begins. That's where our journey begins. And if we were to take every challenge and every moment of darkness as the opportunity that it is, that it's meant to be, to push us onto our journey towards Hashem, towards clarity, towards goodness and godliness in our life, right? Then we fulfill the purpose of that darkness, the purpose of our own unique purpose and mission, and the purpose of creation. This is very similar to the Parshas Bo small video I did by Parshas Bo. It was also on a Mosei Shabbos, actually. Bo el paro, not to be afraid of the paro. We're supposed to go towards it. The negative, the fears, our darkness, our challenges. We don't run away from that. If we're feeling like hard stuff, great. Then you're living life. You're on your journey. You're exactly where you need to be. You're exactly, taking that step towards, wherever Hashem is leading you. Hopefully that we have guidance and we have people in our lives to support us, to guide us through that, where to go with that. Because sometimes on our own, we don't know, okay, so I'm feeling all this darkness. Like, where do I go with that? Right. So we reach out for support and guidance. But our journey begins specifically when the Anan, the Shechina departs. Specifically when we're feeling that darkness. That is meant to encourage us to give ourselves over to our very purpose. So I have like 2 minutes left. I want to read back. I just noticed how in the pasuk Lamed Hey, so in middle of those psukim that I said, Moshe wasn't able to go to the Ohel Moed, right? When the Shechina was there and the Kvod Hashem was filled in the Mishkan, he wasn't able to go in. But as Rashi points out, but wait a minute, how does that make sense? Because we know that when did Moshe communicate with Hashem? He communicated in the Ohel Moed, right? And we know that the Ohel Moed, like in the Mishkan, was when the Shechina was there, right? Otherwise, if the Shechina wasn't there, then they were then they would travel, they would move on, they would go somewhere. So the Shechina was there. So how could Moshe not be able to come in? So Rashi clarifies that it's not that the Shechina had departed all the way, right? Because like we just said, if the Shechina departs all the way, then it was time to travel. But rather, there was like the Shechina filling up the entire Mishkan. And that was such an intense revelation that Moshe couldn't go in and communicate with Hashem. And only when when Hashem's Shechina went like up a little bit, hovered over the Mishkan rather than filling it, but hovered over it, that is when Moshe was able to come in and communicate with Hashem. And I just thought, when I saw this, I realized that how connected this is to what we're saying. That even Moshe, he couldn't really connect to Hashem. He couldn't hear what Hashem wants of him and the Jewish people, as long as the Hashem's presence was like overwhelming, was completely overwhelming that space. Each of us, even Moshe, needed Hashem to depart a little bit. Why? Because Hashem needed to make space for us to feel ourselves. Otherwise, we're so consumed by Hashem, we don't even experience ourselves. So we need to experience ourselves, and as ourselves, communicate with Hashem, choose Hashem, tune into Hashem, listen to what is Hashem's will for me in this moment, in this challenge. And ultimately, like we said, when the Shechina really departs and we really don't see Hashem's presence in our life and we're feeling really challenged, that just means that our journey is beginning and we're on the right track. Had a beautiful week. Shavua Tov.